Hello, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Algabot, your guide to the world of automated trading on MetaTrader 5. Today we're taking a close look at a pure price action expert advisor called Inside Bar Breakout. This strategy uses no indicators at all, no moving averages, no oscillators, nothing but the raw shape of the candles themselves. By the end of this video, you'll understand how it spots a coiled, compressed market, how it brackets that coil with pending stop orders, and how it manages its risk and reward once a breakout actually fires. Let's get started. So what exactly does the Inside Bar Breakout Expert Advisor do? At its heart, this is a momentum and compression strategy built entirely on candlestick structure. It reads the two most recently closed bars on your chart and looks for a very specific two-bar pattern. The first bar, which we call the mother bar, has to be a strong momentum candle. A candle whose body makes up a large fraction of its total range, telling us that price moved with real conviction in one direction. The second bar, the inside bar, must sit completely inside the mother bar, with a higher low and a lower high, and it must be tight and narrow. Together, these two candles paint a clear picture, a powerful thrust, followed by a quiet, coiled pause. That pause is energy being stored, and it can release in either direction. Rather than guessing which way the market will break, the strategy stays neutral. It places two pending stop orders at once, a buy stop above the mother bar's high and a sell stop below the mother bar's low. Whichever side the market expands into is the side we trade, and the opposite order is immediately canceled. This is what traders call a one cancels the other, or OCO, bracket. Because every distance in this system, the breakout offset, the stop buffer, and the target, is measured as a fraction of the mother bar's own range, the strategy automatically scales to any symbol, any time frame, and any level of volatility without ever needing to know the instrument's point size. It's best suited to momentum-prone markets such as gold or the pound-yen pair on the 15-minute or 1-hour charts, and to traders who are comfortable with a breakout style that waits patiently for the market to make the first move. Let's walk through the exact logic the expert advisor follows, step by step. The strategy only acts once per newly closed bar, so it isn't reacting to every tick of noise. On each new bar, it first checks whether a position is already open. If one is, it simply cancels any leftover pending order and steps back to let the stop loss and take profit do their work. Next, it checks whether a bracket of pending orders is already resting in the market but hasn't been triggered yet. If so, it ages that bracket by 1 bar, and if the bracket has been sitting unfilled for too long, by default, 3 bars, it cancels both orders and goes back to hunting. This means the EA never pays for a breakout that doesn't actually happen, and it never stacks a second bracket on top of an old one. Only when the account is flat and idle does the strategy look for a fresh setup. It measures the mother bar's range and confirms the mother bar is a true momentum candle by checking that its body is at least a minimum fraction of that range. Then it confirms the inside bar is genuinely contained. It's high below the mother's high and it's low above the mother's low, and that it's tight enough, meaning its own range is only a small fraction of the mother's range. If both conditions pass, the EA has found a valid coil. Now it builds the bracket. It calculates a buffer as a fraction of the mother bar's range. The buy stop is placed that buffer above the mother's high, and the sell stop that buffer below the mother's low. The structural stop distance, which it calls risk, is the full mother range plus both buffers, in other words, the far wall of the coil. A filled long order is therefore protected by a stop just below the mother's low, and a filled short by a stop just above the mother's high. The take profit sits at a fixed reward-to-risk multiple of that stop distance. Finally, the EA only places a stop order on a side the market hasn't already broken into, so every pending order is valid the moment it's sent. Once the bracket is live, the expiry clock starts ticking, and the strategy simply waits for the market to choose a direction. Let's bring this to life on the chart. Watch the early candles form. The first tall green candle is our mother bar, a strong bullish thrust with a big body, showing real momentum. The very next candle is small and sits completely inside it. That's our inside bar, the coil. The expert advisor immediately brackets this coil. You can see the blue line above the mother's high marking the buy stop, and the red line below marking the sell stop. A couple of candles later, price expands upward and pushes through the upper trigger. The buy stop fills, and instantly the resting sell order is canceled. From there, price runs higher, candle after candle, until it reaches the take-profit level, where the long trade closes in profit on this illustration. Now watch what happens next. The market rolls over and prints a second momentum candle, this time a strong bearish one, a brand new mother bar. Again, a tight inside bar forms just within it, and the EA re-brackets the fresh coil, repositioning both the buy stop above and the sell stop below. This time the market expands to the downside. Price breaks beneath the lower trigger, the sell stop fills, and the opposite buy order is canceled. Price then slides lower, bar by bar, until it reaches the take profit beneath the coil, closing the short trade. Notice how the strategy never tried to predict direction. It simply waited for compression, bracketed it on both sides, and let the market choose. The same structural logic produced both a long and a short trade, purely from the shape of the candles. Remember, this is a simplified illustration for educational purposes only. Let's go through the inputs you can adjust. The first is minimum mother body fraction, with a default of 0.55. This sets how much momentum the mother bar needs. Its body must be at least 55% of its total range. Raise it towards 0.9 for only the most decisive thrust candles, or lower it towards 0.3 to accept more setups. Next is inside maximum fraction, default 0.7. This controls how tight the inside bar must be, as a fraction of the mother's range. A smaller value demands a tighter, more tightly wound coil. A larger value is more permissive. Third is buffer fraction, default 0.1. This is the breakout offset and stop buffer, expressed as a fraction of the mother bar's range. A larger buffer keeps you out of false breakouts, but places your entry and stop further away. A smaller buffer gets you in sooner, but is more easily whipsawed. Fourth is reward ratio, default 1.5. This sets the take profit as a multiple of the structural stop distance. So at 1.5, your target is 1.5 times your risk. Push it higher for bigger targets that hit less often, or lower for closer, more frequent targets. Fifth is ExpiryBars, default 3. If neither side of the bracket triggers within this many bars, both orders are canceled and the EA hunts a fresh coil. Then there's lots, the fixed trade size, default 0.1. Always size this to your own account and risk tolerance. And finally, magic, the identifier the EA uses to recognize its own orders. Just keep it unique per strategy on the same account. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the Inside Bar Breakout Expert Advisor. We covered how it reads a momentum mother bar and a tight inside bar to find a coiled market, how it brackets that coil with a one cancels the other pair of stop orders, how its stop loss sits at the far wall of the pattern, and how its take profit scales as a multiple of that structural risk. We also looked at every input you can tune and how to run your own backtest. Remember, everything in this video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. If you found it helpful, please give it a like, leave a comment with the strategy you'd like me to break down next, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. You can find more analyses over at www.algobot.live. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Trade responsibly.